It's part 3 of this particular series focusing on inspired by fragrances from Kdj Inspired, who are based in Bolton in the north of England, and they produce some very accurate copies of the most popular designer and niche fragrances for both men and women. I own around about 20 bottles from this brand now, and I've got to say that I've been hugely impressed with the quality of all of the ones that I currently own, and that so far there hasn't been one that hasn't performed really well and that hasn't been very accurate to the original. In this episode I'll be focusing my attention on 5 more that I recently picked up, and I'll be letting you know which ones are my favourites out of this particular little mini haul. Yes, hello again everybody, and welcome to this special Kdj Inspired episode of Mags Frags. My name's Paul, and if you're looking for a great way to smell fantastic this festive season without draining your bank balance, you can't go too far wrong with an inspired by fragrance. There's no fancy product presentation or packaging, and no multi-million pound A-list celebrity endorsements, but what you do get are fragrances that have been scientifically reverse engineered to accurately recreate the expensive niche and high-end designer fragrance experience, but just at a fraction of the cost. These ones are all the EDP versions, which are 22% concentration of fragrance oil, and I picked them up in the 10ml or 30ml pocket spray size, and these usually cost around about £8 each. There are 5 other sizes available, and when you get up to like the 50ml and the 100ml sizes, they then become available in an extrait de parfum version with a whopping 50% concentration of high quality fragrance oil. So if you're interested in picking up any of these fragrances from Kdj Inspired, you can use my unique discount code, which will get you a further 10% discount site-wide, and the code for that is Paul10. I think it's all capitals, and this is a permanent discount every time you want to use it, and not just for new customers or first time purchases. And just before I begin this rundown, I just want to assure you that Kdj don't sponsor my videos or pay me anything to talk about their products. I do receive a small commission if you were to use my discount code just to purchase any bottles to try out for yourself, but the opinions that you're about to hear today are my own opinions, and if I don't like any of these I will definitely say so. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to talk about today is one that I actually stumbled across whilst I was just browsing on the Kdj website. If you've ever visited the site, you'll probably know about the notifications that pop up at the bottom of the page that just inform you what like the latest sale was. And this one just kept popping up time after time, so it's obviously an extremely popular seller. And this one is a copy of Kalemat by Arabian Oud, which is one of the more expensive Middle Eastern fragrances, which tends to go for upwards of £100 a bottle. The top notes in this are blueberry and star anise. In the heart of the scent there's cashmere wood, floral notes and rosemary, and the base notes in this one are amber, honey and musk. Yeah, so this one is a beautiful smooth amber fragrance with a really soft and relaxing scent profile. The opening is fairly bright, and it's the star anise which I pick up on instantly, and you get like a prominent medicinal licorice type aroma from it, but that's just for the first couple of minutes. But this soon like settles down, and then you get lots of sweetness from the amber and the honey that come through, and it just reminds me a lot of Kdj Oud from Montal that I reviewed a few weeks back, so don't forget to check out that video. I don't really get much in the way of the blueberry note, but I suppose it just blends in with all the other sweeter notes. Same goes for the rose that's listed in this and the other florals. I'm not really a lover of the rose note, so thankfully it's not too noticeable in this, so you don't end up smelling like a Turkish delight. I don't actually own the original Kalemat, so I can't tell you exactly how close to the original this is, but even if this isn't like a one-to-one clone, it does smell absolutely lovely in its own right. It is quite dense and syrupy sweet with a definite dark and mysterious Middle Eastern or Arabian quality to it, but there's nothing too challenging or complex in this one. In fact, this would be a really great gateway for anyone who's just thinking about crossing over from designer fragrances into a more niche or Middle Eastern sense. After it dries down, it does develop into a really warm and cosy gourmand fragrance with a sweet, velvety, smooth and kind of well-rounded aroma. It's in a similar kind of ballpark to the likes of Carlisle from Parfums de Marly and Mancera's Red Tobacco in terms of how sweet and comforting the dry down is. So if you like those kind of rich, opulent smelling gourmand fragrances, then you'll really enjoy this one. It's like walking past a bakery with its doors open first thing in the morning and smelling the warm pastries. It smells really good and it's just absolutely ideal for the colder months of the year. The projection isn't heavy and cloying and it does sit fairly close to the skin for the most part, but it lasts for hours and you'll get a nice little waft through it throughout the day. This is definitely one to try out for yourself over the festive season. It's a really good one and I'm glad I was browsing on it on the website that day. Okay, next up is a copy of one that was discontinued a while back, but due to a huge popular demand, it was re-released only last month in October of 2022. And it's one that I intend to pick up and do a full review on now that I've sampled this copy of it from Kdj. This is inspired by GAULTIER 2 by Jean-Paul Gaultier. And the Kdj version is just simply named JPG 2. The original GAULTIER 2 came out in 2005 with just 3 notes of amber, vanilla and musk listed as the official notes, and it's that particular version that I believe this one is inspired by because the vanilla in this is really prominent. The new 2022 version of GAULTIER 2 has notes of jasmine, sandalwood and ambergris, so a completely new composition altogether, and I look forward to trying that one. But if you enjoyed the 2005 version, then this is well worth picking up because that one now goes for upwards of £300 a bottle. This is definitely a unisex fragrance, and like I've just said, the vanilla in this one hits you full on in the face right from the very first spray, but the amber and the musk rein it in from becoming overly sweet and sickly. It's actually quite bright and clean smelling for the most part, with a small trace of the original Le Male DNA in there, albeit this is way sweeter. As it dries down, it becomes more powdery with some faint animalic muskiness, but again, not so much that it takes it into the realms of like smelling feminine. The vanilla stays through to the very end of to the life of the scent, and I'd simplify this one by just saying it smells like a really nice vanilla scented shampoo or like a shower gel. There's nothing complex or challenging again in this one, and I think 99% of people will really enjoy it. It's a lovely, warm and comforting scent, so it'd be perfect for the autumn and winter time. The performance is really good with a solid projection, and it lasts on skin for a good 8 hours, so definitely one that I'd recommend that you put on your next shopping list to try out for yourself. Okay, so this next one is inspired by a fragrance that sadly again has been recently discontinued, and this is a copy of L'Homme Libre from YVES Saint Laurent, which is classed as a woody spicy fragrance that came out in 2011, but it's actually got quite a bit going on in my opinion, and I think it's one of the more interesting ones from the L'Homme lineup, even though I guess it wasn't as popular as some of the other YSL releases. This one is a very bright, crisp and fresh fragrance with a sharp metallic edge to it, and also some green accents, and then garnished with some spice. The overall smell is kind of a salty aquatic scent with a slightly bitter base layer with notes of violet leaf, vetiver and also patchouli, bringing some gritty masculinity and maturity to the base of the scent. There's also basil, star anise, nutmeg and black pepper in here, so you do get a nice spicy quality all the way through the life of the scent. It did used to get criticised for being a bit generic, but I couldn't disagree more. This to me has definitely got its own unique scent DNA, and it smells nothing like the many fresh fragrances that I currently own. This is not your typical modern fresh blue designer fragrance, and it's way more complex and interesting than most of today's recent releases. I personally really enjoy it, but I can also see why some people could be slightly turned off from it, because it can get a little bit full on and maybe a bit headache inducing if you overspray it. The violet leaf is quite prominent in this, and it's this note that will either turn people on or off to the scent, because it's got that like petrol-like aroma that it gives off. The performance on this particular Kdj Inspired version is really good, and I'd even say it's probably slightly even better than what you'd get with the original. It projects really well for a couple of hours, and then you'll get a further 3 to 4 hours as more of a mild skin scent, which is about what you get from most fresh fragrances these days. It's a decent one to try with the winter upon us, but it's probably not the best time to pull the trigger on this one because it is more of a warm weather fragrance. Right, so this next one is inspired by one of my go-to winter fragrances, and I do own a bottle of the original, as well as a perfume parlour copy of it as well. This is inspired by Side Effect from INITIO Parfums, which is a unisex amber fragrance with notes of rum, vanilla, tobacco and cinnamon. And for me, it's a perfect festive season fragrance. It smells super rich and luxurious with a beautiful, warm and cosy feel to it. We've got oodles of sweetness coming from the vanilla and the tobacco. There's a gorgeous boozy rum note in there, and this is topped off with cinnamon, which provides a hint of spice. There's also a fruitiness which kind of comes off to me like a bit like a plum note, and this makes it lean into the kind of gourmand territory. It's got a slight similarity to Jazz Club by Maison Margiela, but I'd say this is a touch sweeter, maybe slightly more fruity and with just a little bit less smokiness to it. It's a huge compliment puller and it never fails to get noticed whenever I personally wear it. It is very sweet though, so if you're not into your sweet fragrances and the sweet fragrance is not your thing, then stay clear of this one because it is as syrupy as it gets. This is extremely accurate to the original and it's difficult to detect any difference even when you're comparing them side by side. The performance is great on this and the projection and longevity are both pretty beast mode, so this one is one that I'd highly recommend if you are looking for a new signature scent this Christmas. And finally, I thought I'd pick up a copy of this last one because it's a bit of a blast from the past for me, and I haven't smelled this scent DNA for a couple of years now, and it was one that I did used to really enjoy. It's inspired by Creed's Green Irish Tweed, which has been copied now hundreds of times, but it's still one of my favourites from the Creed lineup. It has a really fresh, green, outdoorsy kind of aroma, and it always makes me feel nostalgic because it was one of the first niche fragrances that I actually ever owned, and whenever I smell it, it just transports me back to a period of my life around about the early 2000s when I was in a really good place and had lots of happy memories. But since I set up the channel, I'm always testing out the latest and the greatest, so I love to revisit timeless masterpieces like this one every once in a while. The notes in this are lemon verbena, iris, violet leaf, sandalwood and ambergris. So this again is pretty much a carbon copy of the original with a really watery aquatic freshness in the opening that people compare to it as smelling a bit like cucumber water. It's really bright and airy with a very safe, uplifting scent profile, and the original often gets compared to Davidoff Cool Water, which I tend to agree with, but the snob in me thinks that the Creed version is a bit more classy smelling and there's kind of a bit more going on in this one. This Kdj Inspired version captures the essence of Green Irish Tweed perfectly, and you get the soapy white florals, the green tea-like accord and the musky ambergris in the base. This is a really versatile fragrance that smells very clean and crisp, so perfect for when you're kind of dressed up in a really smart, sharp suit for your more formal occasions. It's a stylish, fresh fragrance with a moderate projection and decent longevity. You'll get at least 5 or 6 hours out of this version, so you might want to reapply it if you want it to last all day or for a whole night out. This is a great accurate copy though, so if you are just getting into niche fragrances and you've never smelled Green Irish Tweed before, then this is a no-brainer to pick up. Okay then, just a quick summary. I am once again really impressed with the overall quality and the accuracy of these fragrances that I've picked up today from Kdj Inspired. But my first choice at this time of year would probably be the Side Effect copy because it's such a luxurious and comforting cold weather fragrance. The Kalemat also surprised me with how good it was, and the other three are more for like your slightly warmer months of the year, but still fantastic scents in their own right and definitely worth testing out. I've also got some more on the way from Kdj Inspired, so I am looking forward to also letting you know what I think of those ones too. Okay, so once again, that's about it for this special Kdj Inspired episode. But if you've got any from this brand that you'd like me to talk about in future videos, then don't forget to leave me a comment down in the comments section and I will feature them in one of my next upcoming episodes. Also, if you've enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And it's now back to reviewing an original fragrance in the next episode, and I'm taking a look at this latest Parfum flanker from the Armani code line. So keep your eyes peeled for this one, and I've also got plenty more fragrance related content on its way, so hopefully I can introduce you or inspire you to your next signature scent for this year's festive season. So as always, thank you very much once again for tuning into this latest episode. Stay safe, keep smelling fresh, and I'll see you soon for another one. Bye bye for now.